let's create your driver.
Thompson.
And now let's focus on your driver's look.
Yes, guys, yes! Come on, boys!
Okay, boss, first, enter a team name. Now, let's some sponsors offer a larger sign-in bonus up front. Some offer more weekly income. The better we perform, the more our level will go up as the team gains more acclaim. Doing this will increase the income from our sponsors. Chassis won't be good. Obviously, the greater the performance and durability, the better. But be careful about spending all our cash. We're going to have people and facilities to invest in as well. Power unit suppliers will also provide upgrades throughout the season free of charge. We're not much of a team without a second driver. Let's sign a teammate. Here are the drivers interested in joining our team. Look at their stats and pick someone you think can get us good results, as long as we can afford them. We renew contracts periodically, so you'll have plenty of chances to sign someone else should the need arise. Looks like we can afford this power unit supplier and teammate. Go ahead and confirm if you're happy. Let's create the livery we'll be running this season. We can add more sponsors to the car as we sign them throughout the year. And don't worry, we can edit our look at any time from HQ. Last but not least, we need to consider our brand, our badge and team colours.
Hello and welcome to a very special Formula One live stream. Now, usually we run events like today to reveal a new car, but today is much more than just the car. It's about a brand new team, and one in which the owner also happens to be the lead driver. That's right, for the first time in modern F1 history, we're going to have an owner-driver on the grid. And it's been a Herculean effort, a huge amount of resource and staff recruitment, and a brand new factory, one in which we are standing right now. And the small matter of producing a car that can take on the big names on the grid. So let's take a look at it now. Okay, let's introduce the person everyone is talking about, Formula One's new owner-driver. Now, I would have thought being an owner was stressful enough, but you're driving as well. So how are you going to approach taking on both the roles at the same time? Now, obviously, you're not going to be alone out on track. You've signed a teammate too. What made them the right fit for this project? So, tell me about the work on the car. Plenty done, plenty still to come. What are you prioritizing in terms of development? Now, your competitors are vastly experienced. You, by contrast, are a total newcomer. So, can that be a good thing? What do you bring that's unique and special to the table? Now, ultimately, your success this season will be determined by the positions you can take from other drivers. So what's your focus in terms of clawing time away from the opposition? Now, ultimately, Formula One is a team sport, and you've had to assemble a team from scratch. So who are you most excited about working with this season? Well, thank you very much for your time, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say all the very best for the season.
Thanks. I appreciate you taking the time to help out. Okay, we've had the new parts come through the fabrication process. We'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix. We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for the weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
The long wait is over. This is it, a brand new season. And before the show gets well and truly underway, we've got the all-important matter of a free practice session. It's great to be back. It's so exciting to be here at a new season. Plenty for the drivers to get their heads around. What will be going through their minds right now?
The faster you can work around the circuit conditions and get the car tailored to your liking, the better. And then you can just focus on the job in hand in terms of lap times. But first of all, you've got to get the car feeling right.
Okay, mate, it's Mark here. I just want to say thanks for trusting me as your race engineer. I know we're going to have a good relationship. It's going to be a long season. They're always tough. But if we work together, we can get some solid, good results. The car's ready to go, but it's brand new, so we've got to figure out any teething issues. We've got our eye on the data. You just do what you do behind the wheel. Okay, me again, mate. We've made some changes to the way that ERS works this year, so you're going to have multiple modes to choose from in the race now. Have a play around with them in your MFD during the practice sessions and think about how you might use them on race day. I'll check back with you soon to chat more about it.
What an incredible practice session that was. But the fun doesn't... Welcome back, everybody. We're here in Canada at the wonderful Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Who's going to come out fastest of all in the next hour? Yes, it's time for qualifying.
Okay, that's all the checks complete. We're ready to go. I'm afraid we've dropped to P22. P22. Pushed down to P22.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We'll be seeing top speeds of around 210 miles per hour here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around 2/3 of the lap taken at full throttle. High-speed chicanes spell potential danger, especially at the infamous Wall of Champions, and watch out for overtaking into the hairpin and that final chicane. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Bottas, Albon, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Sargent, Thompson, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Gasly, Joe, and Ollie Ben. And now it's time to head down to the track. And alongside me for this afternoon's commentary, Naomi Schiff. Good afternoon, Nones. Now, Ant, as much as I like testing, and I do love testing, and I've really enjoyed the build-up here and all the speculation, I really want to see some action. And finally today, we get some proper action on the track.
This is always such an exciting time in the season. First of all, it's the first time they'll be racing their new cars. So that's always an exciting thing for drivers to look forward to. But also, they've had a long time off during the winter break. So it's about dusting the cobwebs off, getting the rust off of their bones, and really getting their elbows out there and having some fun.
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order. Clutch bite is good, gearbox is responding normally. Make sure to warm up the tyres and brakes. Warm the tyres and brakes throughout the lap, please. Okay, the start was fine. Let's try and move forward. DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone. Look out for a bit of understeer when trailing the car ahead. They're going to be giving off dirty air, which is going to affect our tyres, so try to get past. Great work, that's a new fastest lap of the race. You're in the top 10 now, keep it up. Tyre condition still looking good. Great manoeuvre, you made it look so easy. Gap to your teammate behind, 6.6 seconds. The car behind started to drop back. There's a gap beginning to form, let's make the most of it. Right, we need to get past here. Use overtake, use overtake. fastest lap of the race. Keep this up. Well done. Okay, keep an eye on that gap ahead, please. 1.7 seconds. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 10.6 seconds. They're on old mediums. They're currently 21st. And the time last lap, 1 minute 15.1. The gap on the car behind by 0.5 a lap. We're approaching the pit window. You're going to be on softs. Okay, so gap to the car ahead, 3.5 seconds. Ollie's in the pits. Ollie in the pits now. We've got a lot of spare energy. Okay to use your overtake button. Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap. go, go, go. That was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting. Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound. Job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far. No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving. That's a new fastest lap of the race. Gap to your teammate behind, 22.4 seconds. Good job, nice overtake. Catching the car ahead, well done, but be aware these tyres need to get us to the end of this race. Right, let's not stay behind this car for too long. We need to get past. try to stay with them. They might make a mistake and we could still regain the position. And gap to the car in front, 1.8 seconds. Understood, stopping this lap. Yellow flag. Okay, be aware there's an incident in the next part of the track. No overtaking through the yellow flags. Issue removing the right rear wheel. I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race. Up to speed now, let's get some heat into those tyres. I'm afraid you've been given a time penalty for that last incident, mate. Final lap, push, push. Brilliant, nice move, keep going. Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And here he comes. It's all go, go, go for Lando Norris as he takes the checkered flag and wins.
And to get a victory at the first race of the season, this might be a sign of things to come. One thing's for sure is that this performance will be giving the team and the driver relief and confidence going into the rest of the season.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm very happy to see them there on that top step of the podium. another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Our new parts have completed without issue. They'll be on the car ready for the next race weekend. The department wants me to pass on their thanks for helping out.
High up in the mountains here at Spielberg, it's time for qualifying on what will be the fastest laps of the season. Stand by for qualifying at the Austrian Grand Prix.
With conditions as they are, I'd suggest you take a set of full wets. Take it easy to start with, the track's very wet. I'm afraid we've dropped to P22. P22. Okay, recommend taking wet tyres in the current conditions. I'd take a set of intermediates in these Track is wet right now. Feel your way around the conditions before you start pushing the car. Right, that's us down into P16 now. Intermediate tyres are your best bet in the current conditions. All set, we're ready to go, so let's get the car out onto the track.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of around 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill of turn 3. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Thompson lines up on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Norris, Hamilton, Russell, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Ricciardo, Perez, Tsunoda, Hülkenberg, Verstappen, Ocon, Stroll, Magnussen, Bottas, Joe, Albon, Behrman and Logan Sargent. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out. And alongside me today, former Formula One driver and former world champion too. See, told you I'll give you a big intro. Anthony Davidson, hello. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. As we all know, every single driver wants to know what's required of them, and in the case of this driver, I think things are pretty stable at the moment. That they're doing what the team require.
Well, that's the thing, you know, as a driver, it's easy to feel like you're the individual. It's all about you, and you know, you want to further your career the best you can, but you have to have the team hat on as well and play the team game, work with your teammate as best you can. It's not an easy balance to figure out.
Okay, so let's go through all the gears if you can. We need to make sure the engagement is okay before the start. We're going to want to put some temperature into the tyres and brakes. We need to keep the engine cool though, so don't go too high with the revs. No rain expected for the time being. Superb parking there, mate. Let's make sure we get the edge on the surrounding drivers as the lights go out. enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone. Okay, we've lost a position. That's us down a place. Watch out for understeer in the wake of the car ahead. Try to get past as quickly as you can. Push, push. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 7.1 seconds. Okay, mate, final lap. Keep your concentration and let's bring it home. Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a really strong drive and a great finish. Well done.
Well, that's an end to the sprint action. Next up, we'll set the grid for the Grand Prix. So we'll see you next time. High up in the mountains here at Spielberg, it's time for qualifying on what will be the fastest laps of the season. Stand by for qualifying at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Okay, when you're ready, let's go. Stable at the moment, no rain currently expected. Dries definitely seem like the fastest tyre at the moment. Okay, we've only got one lap of fuel remaining. Check's complete. Everyone be aware, we've got a car leaving the garage. Okay, we can take you this... Right, let's have you in at the end of this lap, please. Pitting this lap then. Come into the pits at the end of this lap.
Welcome from the beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Stroll, Verstappen, Thompson, Tsunoda, Russell, Ocon, Gasly, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Albon, Joe, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Behrman and Logan Sargent. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And alongside me today, a man small in stature but big on comment, Anthony Davidson. Hello. Look, we know it's not where you start, it's where you finish, but let's talk about the start now. What's there to help the drivers get away well?
Big pressure at the start of the race, Crofty, for all of them up and down the grid, no matter where you are. But the drivers these days, they practice, practice and practice. They have rigs with them at the circuit where they can sit down with the actual steering wheel from the real car, and they've got lights that they react to. The clutch paddle is tailored around the driver's hands, around their fingers, so they can have optimum position before they start. So there's so much thought and effort that goes into getting these cars off the line.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down. Map is good, but we need to learn the gears, so go into each one when you can. We're going to need some work on the brakes, so put some energy into them and warm the tyres as well, please. Okay, incredible parking there, nice one. That's going to give you the edge if you can get a good launch as the race starts. Okay, so that's the rest of the grid forming up. That start was okay, now stay alert for threats around you. Now use DRS. DRS now available. Brilliant, nice move. Keep going. You might experience some understeer now that you're in the wake of the car ahead. Try to get past as soon as possible. The gap on the car behind by 0.5 a lap. Mind that front wing, it's going to need replacing if it takes too much damage. Approaching the pit window and you're going to be on mediums. Battery charge is high, let's use that overtake button a bit more. Okay, we want you to pit this lap, so push now, push. Okay, pit in this lap, and remember the speed limit. We'll be penalised if we exceed it. Keep that in mind as you approach. Okay, we're monitoring some wear on the internal combustion engine. Be aware that we're going to start to see a loss of power. Right, Ollie's coming in for his stop. The pit box is currently full. Stay out on track. Stay out. Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap. That's it, go, go, go. Perfect job on the turn in there, mate. Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. Okay, red flag, mate, red flag. No overtaking, please. We'll see you in the pit lane. There's been an incident on track, but officials aren't looking to push for a safety car right now. Just be careful. Right, get a nice advantage here. Let's have a think about how we handle the rest of this race. On track. Let's make the best of this restart. Let's go. flag. Okay, radar is clear, weather is looking good for now. Okay, dry seem like the best tyre for now. DRS has been enabled, DRS is now enabled. Gap to your teammate behind, 6.1 seconds. Okay, good work, great pass. Okay, expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now. Okay mate, this is the final lap of the race, final lap.
guys, yes! Come on, boys!
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
The faces on our top 3 look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
OK, we've had the new parts come through the fabrication process. We'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix.